Yes, so this was where we stopped last time. So here we see that, all the powers as if they are just lying latent, hidden within, and almost a lifetime, many a times, we pass by a whole of a lifetime living a very ordinary, mediocre existence and not even aware what are we sitting on. I think it's actually a shame that if we don't get to know what all we are sitting upon, the treasure hiding in our own house. So that was the treasure. I think we read about it, how the treasure is hid, and slowly now the treasure came above, and he was able to use all the powers, sense all the powers which are now lying in the being. And now the universe made sense, it made sense that there is a purpose to this existence. It's not a just immense mechanical machine going on and on. He saw that it's the living movement of the body of God, and the God, the divine, the perfection wants to manifest in every little part of the being. And that's why it struggles. That's why we have to go through all the pain, suffering, and misery of our life, so that ultimately the divine Godhead manifests itself in all its transparency in all the parts of the being. Yeah, all the innumerable elements of the being. So he saw all this, and that's why it all made a lot of sense to him. A spirit hid in forces and in forms was the spectator of the mobile scene. So all that moves, our thought moves, our emotions move, our body keeps on changing, all that moves. There is a spirit hidden, which is the spectator of this mobile scene. And also, not only the spectator, also the basis of existence of this mobile scene. The beauty and the ceaseless miracle let in a glow of the unmanifest. So he saw as if a glimpse, a glow, a shine of the unmanifest also in all these revelations. The formless, everlasting moved in it, seeking its own perfect form in souls and in things. Life kept no more a dull and meaningless shape. So now everything has gotten a meaning, that when we know that this journey is from ignorance to perfection, then where is the dullness, then where is the despair? Even when the despair comes, the despair will be used again as a raw material to perfection, right? So now the life is not dull anymore, which can become a dull for, in ordinary consciousness. He saw the labor of a Godhead's birth, a secret knowledge masked at as ignorance. So, ignorance, whenever we don't know really why things are the way they are. Sri Aurobindo, in one of his aphorisms, he says, impossibility is just, I'm not exactly remembering the exact phrase. He says that impossibility just tells you what all is possible. So what all is possible, maybe not right now possible, but it will be possible sooner or later. Yeah. So impossibility is the beginning or the birth of a newer possibility. So all that we now do not know or do not fathom, ignorance, it is just a mask, and there hides a greater knowledge, a higher wisdom, just waiting to be discovered. Fate covered with an unseen necessity, all these necessary experiences, innumerable experiences that one needs to go through, so that the veils of ignorance are shed and we grow Godward. Yeah, all these happenings are very necessary, no matter how painful they are in our life. The game of chance of an omnipotent will. So it appeared as a game of chance, but it's a higher intelligence in work, in function, and it knows better than us what is important for us in order to grow strength, in order to grow towards perfection, towards more light, towards more wisdom. It knows better than us. And hence it allows us to go through all the sufferings and challenges of the life, so that we can have that Godward bent of mind and the whole being. Yeah, so there, this was where we last stopped. So let us take the newer lines, beautiful lines again, the ones that are going to come. Just a second. Yeah, here. So, yeah, Navpreet, would you like to read these three lines?
Yeah, sure. A glory and a rapture and a charm. The all blissful sat unknown within the heart. Earth's pains were the ransom of its present delight.
Yes. So what he saw was a glory, a rapture, and a charm. And he saw that the all blissful, the all knowing, he sat unknown within the heart, and not within Ashupati's heart only, but within the heart of each and every living being. He sits unknown, hidden as if waiting to be revealed. He lives like a nobody. Nobody even notices, so obvious or so kind of, intangible. He sits hiding, that no one is able to really see for himself that the hidden presence is there. There is an inner presence that is sitting in this being. So he was able to see this fact for himself. And now this unknown was not unknown for him, because he's able to see. But he just, it's like for all of us who are usually living in ordinary consciousness, can we also discover that there is this unknown, all blissful presence, a life presence, a conscious presence living in our depths of our heart, so that it can come forward and run and master our lives. That's what they say, taking care of your inner temple. And if we do not clean and take care of the inner temple, then how is it that we'll be able to install this divine living presence there, or even to take care or nurture that divine and living presence? So that's why we see in all the temples, all the priests that are there, they are invoking, they're invoking all the time. They're invoking purity, they're invoking grace. And without this invocation, the purity is not there in the being. So all our aspirations, all our prayers, all our thoughts, whenever we notice any wrong movement, and then we turn towards a positive movement or a godward movement, this is how slowly we go towards purity, so that we can remain in touch with that inner presence for a longer time, and not only in our meditative experiences, but throughout, 24/7 we can be guided by that inner presence. So a kind of a purity, or a kind of the whole transformation of the being, that my thoughts are now directed towards the divine, and any wrong movements that I see in my being which are heavy and burdening, I immediately turn them to the divine, or the highest possible that is for me. So that is how we slowly go towards increasing purity, so that this inner presence can dwell, and not only dwell, but it can brighten our days and nights. So this all blissful presence he got aware of, and he saw that earth's pains were the ransom of its present delight. So ransom is something, if for example you kidnap somebody, and maybe you have kidnapped a child, for example. So you ask his parents for a ransom, that if you give me this much amount of ransom or money, then I will give back your child to you. So that is how we ask for ransom, when we kidnap something. So here he saw that all the pains that we go through in earthly life, all the suffering that we go through in earthly life, this is nothing but a ransom that has to be given back, that has to be paid as a price, so that we can have that imprisoned inner presence out in our day-to-day manifestation. So far it lies hidden, and it's prisoned in the in the chambers of our heart. But if we want to release it, if we want to liberate it, then this price of going through the pain, going through all the challenges of life, has to be paid. Freedom comes for a price. Freedom is not free. People in India freedom movement, they gave their life so that India could be free. So one has to pay price for freedom. And when we talk about our day to day life, for example, you have to stop asking for approvals from people, or wanting to be respectable in people's eyes, if you really want to live a free life, a life which is is towards truth and only truth. So this is how he saw that all the pains, all the challenges that we go through is nothing but a ransom that has to be paid, so that this so far present delight can be freed, can be liberated, because the canto's name is the yoga of soul's release. So this has to be paid. If we want to liberate our souls, then we have to go through all the challenges, bow down our head, and learn all the lessons that they are telling us to learn. And hence, the soul can be free and the master of the being. So, this is what he saw. Yeah, and then again, furthering his experiences. Please keep sharing if there are any further reflections. Yeah,
Can I? No,
please
nothing.
go ahead. Please go ahead. Yeah,
No, I thought I can read the next.
yeah, yeah.
No,
Please read a glad communion.
okay.
Yeah.
A glad communion tinged the passing hours. The days were travelers on a destined road, the nights companions of his musing spirit. Shall I continue one more? No.
No, I
Yeah,
think this
that's
much
it.
is enough. Yeah.
Sure,
Thank
sure.
you. Thank you. So now, as he grows intimate with this inner presence, indwelling Godhead, how his days become, how his nights become a glad communion tinged the passing hours. So, all his passing hours, all his waking hours, sleeping hours, they are tinged as if they get a touch of this color of this inner presence, the beauty, the delight of this inner presence. Now, he even his waking or sleeping hours, they are tinged with the delight of knowing that the inner presence is there, and he's in communion with that inner presence. So he grew intimate with his higher self, with the inner being. A glad communion, and he feels glad for that. One feels a gladness in the being. When you are growing intimate with your own inner self, you feel a gladness in the being, that you feel grateful, for this touch being shown to you in this life. A glad communion tinged the passing hours. So there was a sweetness in his passing hours. The days were travelers on a destined road. Usually how we pass our days in ordinary existence is we don't know really. Most of the times, as mother says, an aimless life is a miserable life. And many a times our days are just passed aimlessly, going after one little job after another job, but really not really, any destined road. But now he knew the destination. The destination is Godward. Whether we achieve this with the 100 lifetimes, or whether we achieve this by one lifetime, doesn't matter. The destination is only one, and that is Godward. Okay. I'll try, Happy Ji, if I can switch to Hindi in between. Yes. So, so his days are now blessed with that kind of a communion of his inner presence. And he knows that no matter whether it takes longer or shorter, the destination is only one, which is the divine. Right? So, mother also shared this beautiful picture that I once shared. I don't remember where, maybe in Savitri class, where mother shared. So there are the destination is only Godward. You can either collaborate, and if you do not collaborate, then even then the destination remains the same for you, but you will have to take a waving kind of a path. I'll share it on the WhatsApp group maybe. So mother shares a picture that you are taking like a wavy path towards the divine, and the person who has now woken up that yes, this is the only path to be trodden upon, and hence why not collaborate with the divine existence. So then he takes a straightforward path. So his journey is shortened, right? So mother herself shared this, that this is what is called divine collaboration. That no matter what challenge you see in your life, what pain or suffering you go through in life, you take it as a blow or a gift or a prasad from the divine, and learn your lessons so that your path is shortened, rather than blaming people, victimizing yourself, why was this done to me. That just prolongs the journey. It just gives you more and more of a detour. The destination is only one. So he knew that the destination is only one. The days were travelers on a destined road, and the nights companions of his musing spirit. So even in night's silence, he's very comfortable with that intimate inner presence, and he's able to maybe muse and reflect and contemplate over issues, over ideas, over day-to-day life, and he's able to receive answers through that communion. So in night's silence, that also he is able to use for his Godward, pilgrimage. Yeah. So this is really beautiful, how this kind of immersing ourselves in this inner presence, growing intimate with the inner presence, all can be just beautified, grow towards more and more beauty and delight. No matter if it's a challenging experience, a sad experience, doesn't matter, because ups and downs will be coming in life. We don't know what may come next in our life. But the thing is that if the attitude is right, if the bent of being is right, then no one can stop us from progressing ahead. Yeah. Yes. So if there is anything here, please share, and else we read the few further lines. Yeah. Please read, anyone who has not read in the past two paragraphs. Please go ahead.
A heavenly impetus quickened all his breast. The trudge of time changed to a splendid march. The divine dwarf towered to unconquered worlds. Earth grew too narrow for his victory.
Yes. So this touch of inner presence that he got, this intimacy with his inner self, with his higher self, it gave him a heavenly impetus. Impetus is like a push, koi dhakka deta hai, just like that. So he got this thrust to go forward in life. He got this thrust, this heavenly push, as if somebody else is his engine, which is running him forward, so that he can grow Godward in all his material existence. So this heavenly impetus quickened all his breast. So he got a faster, as if a faster life beat, a heartbeat got faster and strengthened. He got a zeal and enthusiasm almost for looking forward to what this life has to bring. Where all the movements have the capacity to turn Godward. So it gives us a new kind of an enthusiasm, a spirit comes in the being. So he got that kind of a push owing to this communion with his inner being. The trudge of time changed to a splendid march. So usually, the day-to-day existence that we live, uh, it's heavy. Many a times it's a very dull kind of a movement, slow movement forward. And it's actually because of the tamas, because of the inertia. People who are just kind of trapped, many a times we are just trapped in that inertia or the daily routine of life. It just boggles us too much, that often we ask this question, is that this to life? Is it all? Would I be just living like this dull and slow movement, don't know where we are going, which way we are going? So that kind of a ordinary dull existence, it changed into a splendid march, a march towards a victorious, knowing in certitude that our journey will definitely reach its destination, which is Godward, which is divine. But it is only, the trudge of time changes only for those who are collaborating with the divine. For those who are not even aware what is the task to be done, they will just go more and more deeper into depression, because life is hard. Life is not easy game. It's not, when a child is born, we are so happy, that a new baby has arrived into this world, but slowly the child also has to go through all the challenges of his own life. It's not a very goody life all the time. So if we do not take care that yes, my journey is from ignorance to light, from suffering to bliss, And that is why I must go through all these challenges in a very cheerful or a smiling attitude, that no matter what, I am always with the divine, and I'm always guided. So if we have such kind of an attitude, if not possible all the times, at least in few moments of our lives, I think that really changes the whole dullness of the life into a more kind of an uplifted, upbeat attitude. Not very excited also, but you are not very dull and morose about the life, that life is so dull and we are just living or passing time. It does not like become like that. It's more like a splendid march. You're looking forward, okay, what next, like that. And then comes the story of the divine dwarf. And I would ask, maybe Chitra ji knows about this, anyone who knows about this story of Vaman avatar. So if you can share shortly, because that is what is referred to here. The divine dwarf towered to unconquered worlds, earth grew too narrow for his victory. So once you shortly share the Vaman avatar story, then I can uh, share further on these two lines. Yeah, anyone who has idea about this? Yeah, Chitraji, the Vaman avatar story?
Yeah, I know actually.
Yeah, just go ahead. I knew that you could have an idea.
Yeah.
Please go ahead. Yeah.
Yeah, the king was Mahabali actually. When Sri Krishna, I mean, entered in disguise of a Brahmin, actually, in a small, I mean, image, very small image, he entered into his kingdom and asked for some dana, actually. He asked for something actually to be given to Brahmins. No? So when he asked, Mahabali said, I can give whatever you want, I can give, he said. Okay, I want only one step. I mean, his foot size, no, very small. He's so only 1 foot size. Okay, I will give. He put the foot. I mean, it covered almost quarter of his kingdom, and another foot he put, feet he put, and it also covered another half. And his guru, that Mahabali's guru Shukracharya, came and prevented him. He is not, I mean, a poor Brahmin boy. He is in the Krishna is in the form of, I mean, he is disguising as a Brahmin. But Mahabali refused actually. No, I have to give because I gave my word to give that dana to him. I have to give. So then he Mahabali, then he surprised what to do. Then in the Mahavamana, he put his feet upon his head, Mahabali's head. So this denotes actually to take away our ego, whatever be the position. Actually, that the ego is, I mean, driven out from Mahabali, it seems. Actually,
Okay.
this
Yeah.
is Swaman Avatar. Yeah,
Yeah.
very small, and also this small thing denotes in our, I mean, very thumb size. No, it
Yes,
denotes
yes,
our psychic being. Yeah, it is
yes.
compared to our psychic being. Yes.
Angushtamana Purusha.
Angushta Matra Purusha. Yeah, that is why Krishna came as a very small image, actually.
Okay,
Small. Yeah.
beautiful.
Yeah.
Thank you for sharing. Yes.
Yeah.
So yes, as Chitraji shared, this king grew very cruel, and he's just one kingdom after another kingdom. He's just taking over, and people are worried and they are praying to Vishnu, please help us. And that's why, as Chitraji was sharing, he takes this divine dwarf avatar, Vaman avatar, and then he grants him 3 steps, that okay, I grant you that whatever you can cover in 3 steps, you can have. First step, he covers earth. Second step, he covers heavens. And then in the third steps, he's looking, where shall I put the third step? And in the meantime, the king grew humble. He realizes his mistake of his arrogance and ego and pride. And then he says, okay, third foot you put on my head. And that refers to, the bowing down of the ego, as Chitraji was sharing. So this divine dwarf, in this case, reference to Ashwapati himself, the divine dwarf towered to unconquered worlds. And this divine dwarf is all of us. All of us have the capacity to grow Godward in whatever uh, being or form of our existence. Wherever we want to grow Godward, we can. But the thing is whether we want to. And the thing is, whether we want to or not want to, we will be obliged slowly, slowly, because that is the only way. That is why the existence is there. So if we do not bow down our head our own way, then our head will be bowed down by the challenge and the force of circumstances and situations. So it is not possible for the head to be really high up all the time in our arrogance and pride and ego, because that is not beneficial for our own self. We suffer there, and it's also not the purpose of existence. The perfect purpose of existence is to grow all that divine light, the divine beauty that is our essence, that has to manifest in the mental domain, the physical domain, in the work domain. Whatever we are working in our day to day life, all that has to be slowly full of light and purity. Whether we initially want it or not want it, slowly we'll have to come to it. So this is how the divine dwarf towered, has the capacity to tower even unconquered worlds. Now earth, or the material existence, earth grew too narrow for his victory. Now he's looking forward where to put this next step, because earth I have covered. So much energy one gets from the divine, from this inner presence, that you feel more kind of enthusiastic, and you want to serve the divine. So this zeal comes to work for the divine, to collaborate with the divine. Yeah. Yes. So let's take these lines further. Yeah, who wants to go next?
Once only registering the heavy tread of a blind power on human littleness, life now became a sure approach to God, existence a divine experiment, and cosmos the soul's opportunity.
Yes. So what appeared early to the human eye as a very heavy struggle, life, a very heavy, full of these challenges, pain at times, emotional conflicts, mental conflicts with people living around you. Once that appears as a heavy thread, and as if we are just puppets of in the hand of some blind power, we don't know what is going to happen to us next. Once the life appeared to ordinary human consciousness as that, but now life became a sure approach to God. So this is how his whole perception changed. Once only registering the heavy tread of a blind power on human littleness, that how little and how like a puppet we feel. Mother shares this image of a cork being tossed away by the waves of life, by the challenges of life. So when we are not in touch with our own powers, we feel that powerless, we feel very little, and we feel that there is nothing in our hands really. Anything can happen anytime. But then slowly, as we grow intimate with the presence, with the inner indwelling God, then we see that, oh my God, all this life, all my challenges, all my ups and downs can actually become a collaboration towards the divine. It is only for that. And now, not, he is very sure. Life now became a sure approach to God. So no matter in the beginning, as I was sharing, whether we are willing to have this Godward journey or not, we will slowly be shown again and again that there is no other way but this. No other way but this. So life is actually a sure approach to God. It reminds me of the other these powerful lines from Savitri. Make thy daily way, this make thy daily joys and griefs as this, as pilgrimage, and move towards God. These lines I had shared on the WhatsApp group. So every day has to be just taken like a tirth yatra, like a pilgrimage. And how can I make it more beautiful? If you notice any ugliness, any jealousy, hate, pride, vanity, arrogance, whatever, all these sensations that we keep on having, the moment I notice it, the moment I notice any ill will in my thoughts against anyone, and see, many a times we don't even want to have ill will, but since we are run by sanskaras, since we are run by older patterns of habits, we don't even know why are we harboring ill will against anyone. We don't even know. So it's almost we are actually innocent in that case, because we don't know what is ruling us. But we have the capacity that the moment I see a movement in me which I don't really find beautiful, can I turn it Godward? Can I offer it to the mother? Can I give it to the divine? Put it in a ahuti of this yagya that is going on and on, the yagna of life. Can I put it as an ahuti and make it purer? Is that a possibility? And not listen to the dictates of those ill will thoughts, or thoughts which are not really happy thoughts, thoughts which make us dull and heavy and burdened. So this is how we can make our life a sure approach to God. And he saw that life is actually a divine experiment, existence a divine experiment, and cosmos the soul's opportunity. What is the opportunity? To grow Godward and to actually slowly come out of this prison of material existence and make the mind, the matter, and the whole emotional being a light, as if shining through all these parts of our being. Is that a possibility? And here it is very clear that that is the soul's opportunity to shine through in material existence. That is the divine experiment. And in any experiment, we fail. Any experiment, you see people have discovered laptops, people have discovered electricity, tube light, bulbs, who has not failed? People have failed thousand number of times before they were able to discover anything new, invent anything new. So in any experiment, just like that, in this divine experiment also, there would be many failures. There would be many innumerable number of mistakes. And that is the sankalp or a vow that we make to ourselves, that no matter how many failures, I am not going to stop. This is why the Aryan spirit or the warrior spirit comes into picture. That yes, the failures may be many, I will stumble again and again, I will give in to the ego again and again, but I will not give up upon me. I will not say that I am unfit for this path. I will get up again, dust my pants, shed off the ego, and say all the sorries that are required and go forward again on this journey. So this is how we grow through an experiment, this divine experiment where the divine wants to manifest itself in fullness through the material existence, removing all the coarseness, removing all the ugliness that so far is required in evolution. Yeah.
Yeah, these two lines, no, existence, a divine experiment, and cosmos, the soul's opportunity. Yeah, these two lines are meditative lines, actually.
Yeah.
We can use it, yeah, because we used to, sometimes we used to feel, no, the whole world is, a falsehood. No, actually. If we
Yeah.
repeat these lines, yeah, it will give
Beautiful.
you really, yeah,
Absolutely.
yeah.
Yeah. Beautiful. Yes. Anytime when one is going down, in the drain, then one can just remind oneself of these lines, that it is a divine experiment and it is my soul's opportunity. Absolutely. Yeah. Thanks for sharing. So let's read further. Yeah, please go ahead, anyone. Yeah, so Happy Ji, yeah, please go ahead. Yeah.
The world was a conception and a birth of spirit and matter into living forms. and nature bore the immortal in her womb that she claimed through him to eternal life.
Yeah. The world was a conception and a birth. So his whole perception of the worldly existence changed. And now he could see that the world was actually the birth of spirit in matter. So Sri Aurobindo talks of involution and evolution. He says that spirit or the soul or this divine essence has involuted, has gone inside the matter and hid itself as if it's playing a game of hide and seek. So it has hidden itself into the darkness of the matter or ignorance. And slowly, what will evolve out of the matter? The same spirit which has hid itself, involuted, will evolve itself out of the matter. And why has it done so? What is the reason of this doing? So here he shares, the world was a conception and a birth of spirit in matter into living forms, and nature bore the immortal in her womb. So the nature, prakriti, which we call usually as mechanical, prakriti, or our tendencies, our patterns of living, our movements of being are mechanical in nature. That is why we say that we have to grow conscious in them. They don't need to be mechanical tendencies running our being. So nature has, as if nature is bearing this child of immortality in her womb, so that, why is nature bearing the child of immortality or spirit in her womb? So that she might climb through him to eternal life. So that when the spirit comes out, when she gives birth to the spirit, she can also, nature can also grow Godward. I think this is really so beautiful that usually we talk about Prakriti as being very mechanical and unconscious. It's going in mechanical routines again and again, day and night, and uh, all the seasons running after one after another again and again. In our own body we see the patterns being repeated again and again of our Prakriti, our nature. But why would the spirit be hidden in the nature? So that when spirit comes forward, when the spirit is released, when the spirit is uh, given a new birth, nature also can follow that light. Nature need not be in ignorance and in darkness all the time. And it is for this very reason, so that the nature can also grow Godward, that the spirit hid into nature's wombs. I think this is very beautiful, and it tells us the purpose again and again, in so many lines and so many ways. Sri Aurobindo reiterates the purpose of human existence, why we are here and what is our purpose, what should we be doing in our day-to-day life. Because if I just take my tendency as my tendency and do not work consciously upon it, then there is no chance for ignorance to go away. But when I see a tendency and when I see that it is being repeated and repeated and it's not really benefiting me, then I offer it to the divine. Then I say, Mother, show me the path. I don't want to be puppeted by my tendencies. Mother, show me the path. The divine, show me the path. Show me a beautiful path towards love, harmony, and strength. And then we know that the answer is given. We are shown the strength, given the strength, so that we can overcome, overpower that tendency that showed up, so that it could be transformed. So this is the reason of the spirit involuting in matter's ignorance, so that the ignorance can also grow towards Godward, to grow towards light, so that she might climb through him, through the spirit, the nature will climb to eternal life. And this again refers to what Sri Aurobindo and Mother, talk about, this superhumanity or supramental race, where even the physical substance of the matter will be so transparent, so luminous, so supple and elastic, that it would not hide the divine grace and hide the divine light that it now in human existence it does, because owing to the thickness or the darkness of the matter. Yeah. So that is where it is leading us to. And when he sees all these revelations in him, what happens? when he sees this.
Yeah, actually, that about nature, no, I mean, it is the same line is coming as you explained.
Yeah.
Change nature's doom by the lone spirit's power.
Beautiful. Yes.
Yeah, this is in Vision and Baboon. After Ashwapati got the darshan of Divine Mother, and Ashwapati asked Divine Mother to come down to the earth for the sake of earth, actually. That time she assured him. So these lines, yeah, very important lines. In that, exactly as you told, this line is coming. Change nature's doom by the lone spirit's power. 346 page.
By the spirit's power. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Beautiful. Yeah. Yes. So then he sees this happening. So he sees these revelations in front of him, and then anyone who can go ahead, maybe Navpreet, you can go next. His being laid down.
He's being laid down in bright immobile peace and bathed in wells of pure spiritual light. It wandered in wide fields of wisdom self, lit by the rays of an everlasting sun.
Yes. So now he relaxes, his being relaxes because he knows that the journey is only one, the destination is only one. So one can actually relax, one, especially one who is a divine collaborator, who wants to work with the divine, with the challenges of life. Now his being lay down in bright, immobile peace, as if he got re-energized. He bathed himself in this bright immobile peace that was all that he could see, and bathed in wells of pure spiritual light, knowing that there is only one way we can go, whether we go through 10 failures or we learn through one failure itself. It does not matter, the destination is one. It wandered in wide fields of wisdom self. Now he was, along with this relaxation, he's also able to wander around, to contemplate, to deeply reflect with all these wisdom that was pouring down in front of him. What all the inspirational, the goddess of inspiration, what she kind of revealed for Ashwapati, all the world perception changed for him, all that wisdom, all the larger vision, he could as if wander in those wide fields of wisdom self, lit by the rays of an everlasting sun, a sun which never dies. His whole being is lit. There is no space for darkness, there is no shadow there, no space for ignorance. All is lit by this revealing inner presence. Beautiful lines. Yeah. And now he also feels a change in his physical subtle self. Yeah, that's what is coming here. Maybe we can just read this full, then we can end for today. Maybe let's see. Yeah, Raviji, would you like to go next? Okay, I don't know, maybe he can't hear me, so I will read then, if not anybody. Even his body's,
I'm sorry,
yeah, Raviji, please go ahead.
had to unmute. Even his body's subtle self within could raise the earthly parts towards higher things and feel on it the breath of heavenly air. Already it journeyed towards divinity, upbuoyed upon winged wings of rapid joy, upheld to a light it could not always hold. It left minds distanced from the truth supreme and lost life's incapacity for bliss, and now suppressed in us began to emerge.
So now his subtle physical self, began to experience changes. And these changes were also spilling out to his physical earthly self. Even his body's subtle self within could raise the earthly parts towards higher things. Usually our earthly parts, our senses, our physical senses of vision, of touch, of taste, usually, the way we condition them, they they want and crave for the earthly material. Like we are just conditioned, our our senses are conditioned in a way that all we want is the earthly material. We are not able to refine the earthly senses to want higher things or higher, touch higher, loftier, have a taste for a loftier kind of things. So here he saw that the physical, subtle physical self felt a change or a transformation which could actually uplift or raise the earthly self, the earthly physical existence, the physical being, so that it could crave for higher or loftier things. So it was not now craving for the usual earthly material existence that it usually craves for and which keeps it bonded, to the earthly life. So even his body's subtle self within could raise, as if it is uplifting, the earthly parts towards higher things, to refinement of tastes. Mother talks about physical education, refinement of senses, refinement of taste, all that, and feel on it the breath of heavenlier air. So he could see that even the physical self was now feeling uplifted. It was not craving the usual desires of earthly existence. Already it journeyed towards divinity. Now the journey had started. The Godward journey had started. All the cravings for earthly, little, desires and ambitions and greed and lust, all those changed and transformed and grow, kind of had the capacity to take him Godward, take him towards divinity. And how this journey was happening? Upbuoyed upon winged winds of rapid joy. Upbuoyed as if it's floating, it's floating high up in the air by winds of rapid joy, this enthusiasm, this zeal which he has gotten to grow Godward. Upheld to a light it could not always hold. Physical matter has a limited capacity. Mother talks about endurance. We are not really, we are so used to live in our comfort zones that we are not really gained too much of strength in our physical reality. So mother talks about endurance. And then mother also shares about how athletes or people who are in sports, they train in endurance, that they can keep up for a longer time, and without complaining, really, without the body being complaining about the task. So even when joy comes or delight comes or ananda comes, it is very difficult for the body to hold the ananda. It begins to tremble. It cannot hold all the ananda within itself. So that's what it is shared, that this physical self, now uplifted on winds of rapid joy, upheld to a light it could not always hold. At times it could hold the ananda or the bliss it was feeling, but at times it could also not experience, could not take too much of light. Too much of light, too much of grace, I would just go mad, for example. That's why what happens with people who are not really, the physical self is not prepared for experiences, spiritual experiences, but they get those experiences. So the physical self begins to tremble. It is not able to take that much of light, bliss and ananda. And that's why mother shares, do not ask for these experiences. Whatever will be on your way will be granted to you. So do not go for the divine, to the divine for the sake of these spiritual experiences, but go to the divine for the sake of the divine. Yeah. It left mind's distance from the truth supreme and lost life's incapacity for bliss. So slowly, as the physical being also transformed, it stopped being a slave to mind's reason. Mother says reason is the helper, reason is the bar. At times reason can actually take a person very, very far away in this journey, because then you begin to master your vital emotions through reason. But at the end, reason itself becomes the bar. So the mind's reasoning capacity, it has to be now let go of if you want to travel further. So now, owing to the fact of the transformation of physical being also, it was able to leave mind's distance from truth supreme. It need not be in this great distance from divinity all the time, owing to the fact of reason. Because reason is the helper, reason is the last bar which keeps you away from the truth supreme, and lost life's incapacity for bliss. So usually we are so incapable of bliss, too much of little bit of joy, we just jump up with excitement. We are not able to carry it in our being. Now the life lost this incapacity for bliss. Now it became capable to handle more and more bliss. Yeah, lost the incapacity of bliss and made itself more and more capable for containing, being a container, strong container for handling more bliss, more grace. All now suppressed in us began to emerge. All the powers within us, latent powers, hidden strength within us, which usually we are not even aware it exists in us, all that suppressed powers, they began to slowly emerge in Ashupati's being. All the hidden strength, even physical body is able to have too much of strength, but usually we do not challenge it much. We can have a lot of harmony, lot of beauty in the physical domain also, but we do not challenge it much. And that is what began to emerge, the divine strength which was able to contain all the bliss, all the ananda. It began to emerge in Ashupati's being. Yeah. And then, it's almost, we are towards the end of this canto, the Yoga of Souls release. And I think we can take the next last lines in the next one also, because it goes together, all of them. So let us take rest of the part in the next session so that we can then cover this canto in the next one. Yeah. Thus came his soul's release from ignorance. Yeah, this we'll cover next time. Yeah, so any reflections, any insights?
Even Shervindo's physical appearance also changed actually. You might have heard of it, no? Actually,
Yes.
after 1920, yeah.
Yes, I think Nirodharanji, even in one of his writings, he shared, maybe he
Yeah.
or somebody else, he shared that his body appeared like a
Yeah.
marble, marble
Yeah.
sitting on the sofa.
And yeah, one of the seniors of the A.B. Purani, he also noticed that a visible change in his bodily appearance. Sherbindo, he himself asked, it seems, Sherbindo, how you looked very, pale and brown, dark color. Now that white light is coming out from your body, he asked him directly, but Sherbindo just smiled, it seems, for that. Actually.
Beautiful, yeah, beautiful. Thank you for sharing, yeah. Great. All right then, thank you everyone for joining. Thank you. Let's stop there.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Mani.
Thank you.
Thanks. Yeah.
Bye.
Bye.